Hello, and thanks so much for joining us. I'm Jim Sciutto, live in Washington, where it's 10 p.m. on the West Coast, 7 in the evening out west. In the days since the presidential election, Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate has become the center of the U.S. political world, filled with people angling for jobs in his new administration and those hoping to help influence Trump's picks for those top spots. Trump advisors have been holding formal meetings with the transition team and the president-elect each day, presenting him with input on a wide range of policy and personnel choices. Trump is expected to announce several key positions in the coming days. Some believe he will bring back, among them, Tom Homan, who served as acting director of ICE, that is, Immigrations and Customs Enforcement, during Trump's first administration. Sources say that Homan may serve as a czar-like position in fulfilling Trump's campaign promise to carry out, quote, the largest mass deportation of undocumented migrants in U.S. history. One person who does not seem to have any desire to fill a spot in the new administration is nonetheless playing a very key role in the transition process. Elena Treen has the details.
Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago home has been teeming with allies, members, and potential new officials over the last 48 hours, as many people are angling for a top spot in his second administration or trying to influence him and who he will select for those roles. But the one person who has really been looming over all of it has been Elon Musk. Now, of course, Elon Musk was on stage with Donald Trump, his top campaign advisors, and his family on Tuesday night when he declared victory during the election. But he's also been at Mar-a-Lago and around Donald Trump in the days since. I'm told many days this week he dined with Donald Trump. Just the day after the election, he brought his children to Trump's Florida home, where Donald Trump gave them a tour of his resort. But he's also been sitting in many times when he's been with Donald Trump on some of the calls from foreign leaders, including Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Now, I'm also told that Elon Musk has been weighing in on some of Donald Trump's potential picks, making it clear to the president-elect who he believes should have that role. And he's also been calling up allies of Donald Trump himself, including lawmakers, and starting to exert his influence in that way as well. Now, one thing that we saw happen on Sunday is that he came out and waded into the Senate Republican leadership fight. He quickly endorsed Florida Senator Rick Scott after Scott had supported an idea from Donald Trump to allow for recess appointments, essentially trying to make sure that he can swiftly confirm some of his nominees and in many times bypass the Senate confirmation process. Three of the men are vying for that spot, but Elon Musk said that he supports Rick Scott. And all to say, Musk has been very influential. He is very close with Donald Trump, specifically so in these final weeks before Election Day, where he has been out there campaigning for the former president. And now he is spending a lot of time with Donald Trump and making it clear that he's going to be a top person who Donald Trump relies on as we look ahead. Now, sources familiar with the conversations say that Musk is not expected to take on some formal role in Donald Trump's second administration. Donald Trump has mused before that he would love for him to be a cabinet secretary. However, Musk and others believe that he could have just as much power on the outside. Elena Treen, CNN, West Palm Beach, Florida.
Thanks to Elena. I'm joined now by Mark Longabaugh, Democratic strategist who worked on Bernie Sanders' 2016 campaign, and Asa Hutchinson, former Republican governor of Arkansas, now a resident fellow at the Harvard Institute of Politics. Good to have you on. Appreciate you taking the time on this Sunday evening. Asa, let me begin with you. Elon Musk, I mean, besides the enormous amount of money he put into Trump's campaign, and of course, the role that X played in delivering Trump's message, including some of it, frankly, disinformation in the run-up to the election, why Elon Musk in such a senior role, such an influential role for Trump? And is that a good thing in your view?
Well, first of all, I agree with the reporter, Jim, that Elon Musk's role will be from outside the government. He doesn't want to go through a Senate confirmation. He doesn't want to have the disclosures that are required of an administration official. But obviously, he'll carry a big stick within the administration from the outside, and his role will be a broad portfolio. Trump obviously listens to him, respects him, Obviously, there's conflicts of interest here, but what you'll see in a second Trump administration is a very bold actions that might do away with traditions and some of the guardrails that you usually see in administration. So it won't be the Wild West, but it'll be close to it.
So let's talk, Mark, about one of those guardrails, and Asa referenced it there, which is that he has an enormous amount of business with the U.S. government, space contracts. With Tesla, Trump has promised to go to war to some degree on electric vehicles. So he has skin in the game. What are the guardrails, if any, to adjudicate or modify or somehow provide some standards, right, to that relationship, and how he might push his own interests or how he might expect favors in return from Trump?
It's one of the most extraordinary situations that we've had in history. We've got a billionaire individual who has literally billions of dollars at stake in terms of government contracts, and whether they're satellites, space related situations. And I would just say, Trump ran the early part of this campaign blasting the transition to electric vehicles, but backed off of that once Musk endorsed him. So I think it's very, very troubling, the kind of influence that this billionaire outsider, who actually also, let's be clear, owns one of the key social media news influencing with X that we have in our society. So I just think it's troubling all the way around, and what we can do to stop it, I'm not quite clear.
Listen, yeah, he backed off his sort of blanket attacks on electric vehicles, but still tried to appeal to union voters in states such as Michigan, concerned about transition to electric vehicles, raises the issue as to whether he would provide cover for Tesla, but not for other automakers that make electric vehicles. Listen, it's a long list of things, and Governor Hutchinson, you referenced that big picture in terms of a disappearance of guardrails. So tell me, do you think in the Republican Party, given that Republicans will control the Senate as well, likely the House, are there Republicans who you believe maintain an interest in guardrails and a willingness to back them up? Republicans who've attempted to stand up to Trump have been, they've been voted off the island, as it were. But do you believe that there are Republicans in the Senate and the House who are willing to rescue some guardrails?
Well, clearly, Donald Trump goes in with a serious mandate, different than the first term. He won the popular vote. Yep. He surprised everybody with the strength of his showing with the Electoral College. Clearly, that resonates with Republican House and Senate members. And so they're very attuned to that in their states and districts as to the level of support of Donald Trump. So he's going to have deference. He's going to have a lot of swag as he goes into his agenda, and is broadly supported, whether it's border security, whether it is reforming the Justice Department, or whether it is in the international arena. So he has broad support going in there, and he's going to have a season of grace. But it's going to be tested. It's going to be tested, and we'll see whether the Republicans will stand up, and whether it's a recess appointments that they push back on, or whether it's some other way that that the administration tries to bypass Congress. It will be tested, and it's unknown as to the outcome of that right now.
So, Mark, who leads the way for Democrats at this point? I mean, let's be frank, it's not clear. So who do you think has a chance, right, to lead the way, not just in terms of walking the Democratic Party back to electoral viability in the midterms and in the next presidential cycle, but in terms of leading, I think resistance is too strong a word, but trying to hold back some of the more extreme parts of the Trump agenda from the Democratic perspective?
Well, listen, I think we are in for a long period of reassessment and rebuilding the party. I mean, clearly, this was a devastating defeat. It looks like the Republicans will control both houses of Congress. But if I were to say, in terms of the front lines, obviously we've got governors in major states across the country that I think are already, Gavin Newsom in California, Pritzker in Illinois, even our nominee for vice president, Walz in Minnesota, who have signaled that they're not going to roll over and let Donald Trump trample, the prerogatives and rights of the citizens of their states. So I think that's going to be one nexus, and I also think the House is going to be right on the knife's edge. It does look like the Republicans are going to grab it, but we still have an outside shot. Whichever way it goes, it's going to be razor thin. And so I think Hakeem Jeffries is a new and younger leader, and I think he could be a forceful figure in terms of putting these guardrails that Governor Hutchinson's talked about, trying to put some of those in place.
The mass deportation plan is one that was quite public during the campaign, Governor Hutchinson. Beyond that, what do you consider Trump's most likely domestic priority that you're most focused on?
Well, of course, border security would be top, as you mentioned, but the economy is something that he will look for the extension of his tax cuts. He'll ask Congress to support that. And he's also promised things like eliminating the federal income tax on tips. And that's something that he has to have congressional support for. So I think that he will first look at executive action to have some quick wins. It will probably be in the area of reforming the regulatory environment, doing away with some of the mandates, and also making sure that the Justice Department is reformed, looking at the new Attorney General to do that. So you're going to be looking at executive action for quick victories. Longer term, he's going to have to work with Congress to get some of his economic package through.
Mark, I think you can make a pretty good bet that Trump is going to set his sights on Obamacare, despite the fact that it's quite popular, even in some red states, at least in terms of those who've taken advantage of it. Came really close during the first term. It took John McCain's vote to save it. Does Obamacare survive this Trump administration?
Yes, I think it does. And in fact, I don't know the mind of Donald Trump, but I think in the list of priorities, I mean, Governor Hutchinson touched upon some of them. And I think immigration and taxes are going to be right at the top of the list. And behind that, he's talked a lot about tariffs. I think he's got a big agenda. I'm not so sure that he wants to walk into probably one of the toughest buzzsaws that are out there. I mean, the healthcare is one of the few issues upon which Democrats is still a winning issue for us. And I think there's now inbred support for the Affordable Care Act, and I think it's a tough, even without John McCain in the Senate. I think it could be a tough lift. So
yeah,
I'm hopeful that stays in place.
We'll see soon enough. Mark Longabaugh, Asa Hutchinson, get back to watching football, and I look forward to talking to you again.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, we do have news just into CNN. A source tells CNN that President-elect Donald Trump has offered the post of U.S. ambassador to the United Nations to one of his most vocal supporters in Congress in recent years, Congresswoman Elise Stefanik, the New York Republican, a top Trump ally. There is no word so far as to whether she has accepted that position, which is, of course, cabinet level. Donald Trump and Joe Biden are set to meet on Wednesday. One of the issues sure to be discussed is the president-elect's commitment, if he has one, to supporting Ukraine. We're going to have more on that next.